It's Talk Back Arizona with Bill Brady on 1100 KFNX. Let your voice be heard. To talk to Bill and all of Arizona, call 602-277-5369 in the Phoenix Metro. Statewide, call 866-536-1100.
Good afternoon. We made it to Friday, and we have saved the best for last. Paola Tulliani Zen is with us this afternoon. She is a Republican candidate for governor. This is part of our Election 22 coverage, where we're bringing you the candidates, their personalities, their positions, and their issues. Paola Tulliani Zen, good afternoon. You're no stranger to Maricopa County or Arizona. Good afternoon. Welcome to KFNX. How are you today?
Thank you, Bill. I'm great. Thank you so much.
Well, it's good to have you here. You and I have talked politics before, but you have thrown your hat in the ring for governor. You were a very successful business person, fairly well known for that in Maricopa County in this area. But what made you decide, after having a successful business career, I think I'll take a run for governor?
Well, I look at all the things that are happening, and quite frankly, there is no common sense in our government. And I know we don't have the right leaders. We need business people. And I'm a business person, real business. And I just felt I needed to be there. We need to get stupid out. So
you're not suggesting that he's term limited out. That's a different subject.
Yeah, that's a different subject.
But when you say get stupid out of government, give me an example of what you're getting at.
Well, first of all, Arizona, we're not only affected with Arizona policies, we're affected right now with federal policies, which are being imposed on us. And we don't like it. I mean, you can't even make up some of these policies they put into effect. So I call them stupid. The border, education. I mean, is it stupid or is it deliberate?
Well, some of it is really frightening because we're allowing law to effectively be made on a national level by executive order and not by acts of the legislature, and then it's handed down from there to the bureaucrats to apply policies to it. So it's so far removed from actual lawmaking, it's frightening.
It's illegal, and they're doing it, and we can stop it. I'm a believer we should take our state back. We were self-governing before. Why not now? It's a business. They cannot impose laws that affect our people in a dangerous way, and it is. Whether it's mandates, border, education, we've got to get it back to what America was and even better. And I believe I can certainly help do that.
And that's the thing that drives you to go from being a successful businesswoman to throwing your hat in the ring and running for governor.
Yes, and I've learned a lot. It's a game, this whole campaigning. Am I going to be hired? They need to hire me. I want to be your governor because I can make the changes that are required and really work for Arizona, really do a job. I'm a worker.
Well, the funny thing is that when I look at the government, and my entire background has been in business, I look at it, and it is frustrating because to go back to what you had originally said, bringing common sense back to this, because in some cases there's not a lot of common sense, and there's not a lot of very effective management of things, and we just have a government that doesn't do a very good job. And this is not Maricopa County, this is not Arizona in and of itself, but it's all levels of government. When you look at the amount of debt we have on a national basis, and the Democrats in Washington were ready to push through
again
another, I forget because it had so many incarnations, I think it was another $4.3 trillion in debt, and that must, as a businesswoman who balanced the books, it must drive you
You know
crazy.
what? It is all about numbers. They don't know their numbers. They've never run a business. You know what? When you run a business, and I'm not talking about being in a corporate situation, I mean starting a business from bottom up. You have to know financials. You have to know systems. You have to know organization. You have to know where to put the money, where to move the money. Government doesn't know that. They've had no business experience in that. So I call it, we've got stupid. We've got people that want the position. What is it? Solely to be on the pedestal, and they think then we've made them God, but that God is our dictator. We don't need dictators. We need people that want to work and fix our problems. So I always go out and when I speak at LDs or any invitation.
What's an LD?
It's the divisions of different areas of Republicans.
Legislative district. Okay,
yes.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I lost my train of thought.
Sorry about that.
Maybe it's my old age.
Well, so when you go out to LDs, you always want to say.
Let's forget about that. Let's move on.
Okay,
Yeah.
We'll take a break here. When we come back, we're going to go to one of your favorite subjects, which is the border. Paola Tulliani Zen is with us. She's a Republican candidate for governor. You can find out more about her at zforarizona.com. That's the letter Z for Arizona.com. We will be back in just a moment, and we will go to what is actually a federal issue, but in this state, a border state, it is also very much a local issue. Bill Brady on the Pulse of Arizona, 1100 KFNX. This is our Election 22 coverage. Paola Tulliani Zen is with me this afternoon, Republican candidate for governor in Arizona.
Let your voice be heard. It's Talkback Arizona on 1100 KFNX. Call 602-277-5369 in the Phoenix Metro. Statewide, call 866-536-1100.
Friday afternoon. Good afternoon. Bill Brady on the Pulse of Arizona, 1100 KFNX. This is another in our continuing series of Election 22 candidate interviews. And these are designed, folks, to give you a chance to get to know the candidate, to hear what they have to say on issues, and also, I think a vitally important thing, to hear of how they, in fact, analyze issues and come up with solutions and conclusions. The whole election process is really an elaborate job interview at the end of the day. And nationwide, we've done a really poor job of conducting those job interviews and selecting the people to hold those offices. But we're with Paola Tulliani Zen, Republican candidate for governor this afternoon. One of the big issues, Paola, you and I have talked about this off the air, but it is a big issue for our state and certainly for the nation as a whole right now. The border. With your background in business and having lived in Arizona a long time, what's your take on what's going on with the border, the Biden administration, and what our state policy in regard to that should be?
Well, for a while, many, many months, a lot of candidates and politicians, I think, have even said it's a federal issue. No, under our Constitution, it is a state issue at this point. And our governor has the right to protect our state. And I've spent time with Sheriff Wilmot and Tennell. Tennell, we spent a whole day. We drove the border, we walked. And the one thing that I saw, and again, it's looking at it systematically and organized and having input in order to come up with a solution. You know, I was told that before they were allowed to arrest and deport. Now they're not. That's when Trump was our president. Well, they say if we have more deputies, and we were allowed, by whom, I say? They said, Governor and Attorney General, if there's a consensus, we would do the job. We'd come up with a plan. And I said, that's what I would do. I would call the sheriffs in, create a plan. How many deputies do they need? How much manpower do we need to stop this bleeding, the initial bleeding, because there's over 100,000 that come through Yuma. Put the manpower there. Put the judges there. turnaround processing within 24 hours. Right now they're going to Tucson, and then they're transported to Florence. And there they're giving a document to say that they should show up between 1 and 9 years. Well, do you think that they're going to show up? They say 95% do not show up. So then we send them all over, and I understand we have some in Phoenix today. And there's some small counties that can't even support them, and there's busloads that are dropped off. So I say initially is the manpower that we need on and the ability for the sheriffs to arrest immediately and deport once they're processed. The other thing, when I walked the wall, they showed me where they're cutting through the wall. The wall is metal, the center cement. Well, they get a welder, and then they chip the cement, so they create an opening for them to come in. They also have floodgates that are open from, I believe, July, whenever the rain goes through that river or canal. So they have to keep those gates open. Well, they're open for 4 months. When they're open, they come through those gates. But here's the thing. We had 100 miles of Obama wall. It's 18 feet high. We have a Bush wall that was repaired. We have 351 that's a Trump wall. Now, it's interesting to me that the Trump wall was the racist wall when other administrations had wanted to start a wall or had put a wall in. But what was interesting about or different about the Trump wall is that they had technology underground. So if they got anywhere near that wall, they were detected. They were immediately alarmed. The sheriffs or patrol got to them. They were arrested. What happened? They discharged that wall, and it's no longer in use. But when they had it, they would not try to come in through there. They would not jump over the wall. They would not break the wall. So that's one thing. The other thing the sheriffs have said is the technology that worked underground, which no longer is in use. That's what really works. He said, yeah, we need the wall up. It's symbolic. So when you hear people say, we got to get the wall up or we'll put our own wall up, not going to happen. Your own wall is going to take 10 years to get approval. To finish the wall, it's going to be between 3 to 5 years. But we can get technology in quickly, months. And it's pennies to the dollar. We still can continue the wall, but we get technology in. The other major thing that I believe needs to happen with the federal government imposing all of this on us is to reach out to governors. Governors, this is a national crisis. Let's unite. I would pick up the phone. I love the phone. I would call them every day. Let's get a meeting together. We're going to unite. We're going to push federal government back. And there's so many issues that we need to push back on, not just the border. Whatever they have imposed on us have affected us economically as well, not having the pipeline in. Governors have a right to expect certain things for their people. So that's where I see the big movement could happen, because when you're united, you have a strong voice. So that's my thoughts on the border and really what I would implement. And you know what? First month, it's going to get total attention. We have to stop the hemorrhaging down there. We do. We
certainly do. The other thing in regard to this, when I heard you talk about the fact that they're given an appearance ticket for up to 9 years, you know what that is? It's so intellectually dishonest. That is that nod, wink, wink. And they know that they're promulgating what is essentially a fraud. We will come back with Paola Tulliani Zen, Republican candidate for governor in Arizona. We have lots more to talk about, and there are certainly a number of issues that are challenging us here in Arizona and across the country. I'm also reminded, Paula, of someone who said it, and I don't remember who first said it, but they said every state's a border state. We had, was it 6 or 7 West Point cadets poisoned with fentanyl in Florida? today.
Today.
Today, a long way from the border in Texas or Arizona. We will be back in a moment. Paola Tulliani Zen, Republican candidate for governor, is our guest here on 1100 KFNX as part of our Election 22 coverage.
Let your voice be heard. It's Talkback Arizona on 1100 KFNX. Call 602-277-5369 in the Phoenix Metro. Statewide, call 866-536-1100.
Good afternoon. Bill Brady on the Pulse of Arizona, 1100 KFNX. This is part of our Election 22 coverage. Paola Tulliani Zen is with us today. She's a Republican candidate for governor, very successful businesswoman in the state of Arizona and in Metro Phoenix. Let's finish up with the border as an issue. I had alluded to the spring breakers with fentanyl in Florida today. 6 of them fell, 2 apparently giving mouth-to-mouth resuscitation to others. The fentanyl is incredibly dangerous, but it's not just that that's coming through the border.
Well, we have an incredible amount of people that are human trafficked through. Women, young children, and it's a disgrace. The other thing, we don't have a DNA in place for the children to really recognize if that's the parent, if that's the father, the mother, and they're passing them through. That's another thing. We're America. You know, we got a war right here on our border, what's coming through. And they say 60% of the women and young adults are raped coming through. Yeah. You know, it's unfortunate because we've created a false hope opening up this door for the poor people of Mexico and other countries. I understand they advertise in small towns and say, if you want a job, call this number. We have a job in America for you, the USA, in Indiana or Illinois, New Jersey. And these people call this number, and that caravan is built. The other thing, fentanyl.
Well, the other thing that's irritating about that is we're getting hoodwinked. Well, I mean, the United States government is not in charge. We're being manipulated and hoodwinked.
That's right.
We're not driving the agenda. We're letting it drive us.
They're doing it not for us, to us. That's what the government is doing to us. And you know what? We got to take our state back. And the governor has to do that. Whether in the time when I'm governor, you know what? I don't bend. But this governor doesn't seem interested at all in protecting the people of Arizona.
Nor the president, when you stop and think about it. I mean, what compassion is there, Paula, when ostensibly we have open borders? We don't really have open borders as a function of law, but when you have open borders because we're letting the people in who desperately need a good break, but at the same time, as you said, so many things happening to them en route in terms of the sex crimes and things like that, and other things. Yeah.
Well, you know what? It's almost like we're being punished by the federal government, punished by their power. They get into power, and that's a dictator. We have that tyranny coming through all of our states, and it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. We can't do anything unless we impeach, or we have to wait till the next election. Where anywhere would you keep a CEO that has destroyed his business in 1 year? How does that happen? But yet here in America, we have these politicians that have this position and don't know how to run their leadership position. They just are there for the power, the accolades, the money, the opportunities. So, you know, we're wrong. Something's wrong. Maybe we need to add a new amendment to the Constitution, huh?
Well, I think you're going to be busy enough with what you have to do with the
I'm
governor.
not joking.
Never mind traveling the nation to do the constitutional amendment.
No, we got to take our state back. I believe the governor has that ability at this point, and we can align with other governors.
I think so. And there are governors like the governor of Texas that certainly look like they would be good partners in this. And
DeSantis?
Governor DeSantis in
Oklahoma's
Florida, too.
Another one. North Carolina? We got a few.
All right, we will be back. It is news time at 5:30. This is part of our Election 22 coverage. Paola Tulliani Zen is with us. She's a Republican candidate for governor. We will continue with more of the program in just a few moments, right after the news update at 5:30. This is Bill Brady on the Pulse of Arizona, 1100 KFNX. Time for a complete news update.
It's Talk Back Arizona with Bill Brady on 1100 KFNX. Let your voice be heard. To talk to Bill and all of Arizona, call 602-277-5369 in the Phoenix Metro. Statewide, call 866-536-1100.
Good afternoon. Bill Brady on the Pulse of Arizona, 1100 KFNX. This is part of our Election 22 coverage. And today we have Paola Tulliani Zen, Republican candidate for governor in Arizona. Paula, I think you'd probably be on the same page on this. About time we got a woman back in the governor's mansion, right?
Yes, yes.
Do we have a governor's mansion, or we just have a governor's office?
No, we don't have a mansion. I have a ranch. How about that? Or we can do it in church somewhere.
There you go.
Okay.
We've had some in Arizona. I think some people look at it and say it's a southwestern state and a conservative state, but we've had our share of women governors in Arizona, haven't we?
We have, yes. We had Moffitt. She was very well liked.
Yeah.
She was a Democrat.
Yeah.
But she worked with everyone, and she was a good governor.
She was, and I grew up with Ella Grasso in Connecticut, and I always she had such poise. And she could reduce male politicians to mush and do it in the classiest way, and you knew she's in charge. Anyway, I want to go on to something else with you. Thank you for being with us.
You'll have to give me lessons. You're going to give me lessons.
I'll tell you a story when we get off the air. It wouldn't be relevant to Arizona, and I don't want to take the time from you today to talk about that. But another big issue for us. We have been very fortunate in this state in that we've done well with business. A lot of people credit the incumbent governor, who is term limited out, from having continued our success in business, and the number of companies the Arizona Commerce Authority has brought in has been downright impressive. But from a standpoint of the economics in the state, what are your thoughts on where we need to be over the next gubernatorial term in terms of the economy of Arizona?
Well, I think we have to look at what type of companies we're bringing in also. What are the needs for Arizona? And I think one of the major needs is still manufacturing. We've got to bring manufacturing back to our country and Arizona. We need jobs that are entry jobs for many high school kids and people that don't have specific skills. We also have to look at the type of industry we're bringing in. How much water are they consuming? Is this what we need for Arizona? And, I think we right now are a little over 7 million people. We do need businesses.
We do. We've been fortunate that we've gotten a lot of them because people have looked at Arizona as a place where you had a lower cost of living than, say, in California, and so the cost factor was a factor, but that's kind of disappearing with the current real estate market. When you talk about the issue of entry-level jobs and manufacturing jobs and things like that, that also really kind of begs a question in regard to education in the state and vocational education.
Exactly. It ties in. Education, we have to prepare our kids. And as far as education, I believe we need to bring vocational back. If a child goes into carpentry, machinery, drafting, if they're good at that, I always tell kids, if you're going to be a carpenter, an apprentice, one day you're going to own that company. One day you're going to own that machine shop. You're going to own a trucking company. Whatever you want to be, you can be. And opportunities are open to everyone, especially in Arizona. There's so much opportunity still here. But But we have to empower these children. We have to say, that just because you're not going to college, if you want to go to college, great. But you know what? You can create whatever, you can become anything you want to become. And we're not telling the kids that. They feel, I'm not going to college. I'm not going to go anywhere. No. There's so many companies. They didn't even finish high school. We have McDonald's, Samsung, Edison, Tesla. There's on and on, hundreds of companies that have succeeded and have become world powers in creating new ideas, new inventions, and what we have today. And we need to teach the kids that. We can't pull them and say, okay, college. Not everyone belongs in college, and they shouldn't be in college.
And they shouldn't be indebting themselves for the next quarter century with college loans.
That's right. And, that was popular when the Bushes were in. Go to college, give them a grant, put them in debt, we'll collect all this interest. No. The gentleman, was it D'Souza? Oh, I always forget his name.
Dinesh?
Dinesh.
Yeah, Dinesh D'Souza.
Dinesh believes he wants to get the best of the best educators and put online courses for college. The kids can go to work and they can work on their own time. Instead of paying $50,000 a year, they would pay $5,000 a year. And the kids are working. The best thing you can do, and sometimes the kids don't have this. If they don't go to work, the parents provide for everything. But to be able to go to work, that gives you confidence. You're seeing how businesses operate.
Did you have that in mind when you have built companies?
Yes.
When there was a young Paola Tulliani Zen coming up the ladder, what were you thinking? What was your thought of what you could do and how you wanted to apply yourself to the opportunities ahead of you?
Well, let me tell you a little bit how I started. When I was 14, my father got cancer. I was the second oldest. We were 5 children. And then he dies 2 years later. So I went to work when I was 15, and I went to school. But I did not have the opportunity to go to college, and I always regretted that. I used to feel less confident. I always felt inferior. And then 2 years later, my brother dies. He had cancer. So I was the oldest, and it was very important for me to help support the family. We weren't on welfare. I went to work. But I knew that I had to win always. Whatever I did, I wanted to win. I remember getting a job, my first job downtown Chicago. I went on the L. I was 17 years old. And I got a job. A year later, I went into another company. And I remember the first company. The employment agency at the time was high-end. You were dressed beautifully. And they kept me there. They said, I want you to get on the phone and get us job orders. Okay, I was right down on State Street, beautiful office, 30 women, and here's poor Paola Tulliani Zen, okay? She made her own clothes, but I always try to dress well. And 2 months, they held my check the first month. They gave me a phone book to call. That's why I love the phone.
It was your book of leads.
My book of leads, and I used to get great jobs order. I got a job at MGM for them. My job orders were filled and filled. She calls me in the second month into the office, and he says, you have gotten the biggest paycheck of all the 30 women we have here, our counselors, she called them. Paula, she says, you are a diamond in the rough. And you know what? I was still an poor Italian girl thinking, diamond in the rough. Is that a compliment? Is that good? Maybe it's not good. But you know what? She meant it in a very good way, and it was. Later I knew diamond in the rough is I have a lot of potential. Anyway, I excelled. I always became number one. Then a year later, I went to work at an insurance company. I was 18 and a half, and I was there till I was 19 and a half, or 20. And I remember we had about 10 girls in one department, and we were processing insurance policies. And every month I'd have new ideas in there. I'd win the bonuses, $50, $100. And then think about it, this is 1960. And the supervisor she didn't like me. And one day I says, you know what, I probably need to find another position. So I go into the office and I'm telling them I need to resign. And they said, no, go back to your desk. All of a sudden they call Rose in, and Rose is gone. Okay? They said, Paula, can you run this department? I said, I will do my very best. You know what? That department ran efficiently. We saved $75,000 in one idea per year, and they put me on the newsletter. Paula, we saved $75,000 this year just on one thing that you submitted. I used to look at the process of things, and I think that's what I've always been good at. How do you process? How many people does it take? How do we save money? And, even in my cookie business, that's how I was. Every department, we worked on pennies. And in order to make money, you had to deliver semis of cookies. And everything had to be really to the penny, and I had to look at every department. So I knew how to become a great manager. I knew how to systemize, organize, and I'm very good at numbers. I was always put at the top. When they gave me a test, I excelled in math. And that was my early beginnings.
Well, it sounds like, and this is something that I would say to people. I remember somebody saying to me early on in my working life that if you have the choice between experience and money, take the experience.
Exactly.
Because it'll serve you. And it sounds like you, as you did these jobs, didn't just look at it as, oh, this is drudgery. You looked at it as, what can I learn from it? And how can I analyze it in such a way for me to bring more value to the company? And thank God they recognized that. And what was the woman's name?
Rose.
Rose, yeah.
But you know what? You have to be...
Everybody's got a Rose in there.
You know what? You have to work with pride, no matter what you're doing, and that's what we learned.
We are back in a moment. Paola Tulliani Zen is with us, Republican candidate for governor. This is an inspirational story, and we will come back. We still have more to talk about in the remaining time with Paola today. Bill Brady on the Pulse of Arizona, 1100 KFNX.
Let your voice be heard. It's Talkback Arizona on 1100 KFNX. Call 602-277-5369 in the Phoenix Metro. Statewide, call 866-536-1100.
We are back. Bill Brady on the Pulse of Arizona, 1100 KFNX. This is part of our Election 22 coverage. Paola Tulliani Zen is with us, Republican candidate for governor. Go online and check out all things Paola at z4arizona.com. That is the letter Z for Arizona.com. Let's hit a couple of other things quickly here. In terms of the subject of public safety, we've had, of course, the police issues on a local basis across the country. We've had them here in Phoenix, and we've had issues involving DPS here. We have challenges with the drug problem, border security. What should we be doing, and what should the next governor of Arizona be doing as an approach to public safety?
Well, first thing, we don't cut back on funding, period. If anything, we need to empower our existing policemen, encourage new candidates to come in and train them, because we do have a major problem even in our city right now. We've increased in crime drastically this last year. And when they talk about defunding, I say, how dare you think of that? How dare you even suggest that? These men put their lives on the line. You can see how many have been attacked or died this last few months.
9 of them shot on a single domestic violence call in Phoenix?
Right.
My God.
You know, why should someone want to be a policeman? Why? And not only that, it comes back to education. We've got to teach our kids the respect. You know, the respect for our country, our state, the people that protect us, and they deserve our respect. If anything, I'm governor, I've said to them, first thing, I'm going to look at what you're going to get paid, and we're going to give you a raise. It's easy to say that, but one of the main things I'm going to do, I want to audit departments. I want to audit education, health, whatever we are paying for in our state. Numbers will tell you where we're supposed to be. If you have to move money to another department, that's what we do. I did it in my business. I've always looked at things and analyzed, and then you make some good decisions. And that's another thing. Our government are making decisions, not analyzing, and seeing the domino effect that it has. And then a lot of people will do that. They'll make a quick decision because of their power. And what are they putting out there? Do you see the effect that this decision, even the campaign on defunding, has had on our state?
Oh, my God. The country.
Huh? The country. No, we got to stand up for our police. We got to teach our kids, and we cannot be afraid of the police. Okay? I understand they're well trained, but today I think with the situation that's out there, we need to train them to be more protective of themselves as well. And our policemen deserve better than what we have given them.
You really can't pay them enough when you come down to it for the risks that they take. We will continue in a moment. Paola Tulliani Zen is with us, Republican candidate for governor. When we come back, we've saved the two best issues for last, water and taxes. You going to be ready for that?
Okay.
I'm sure she will be. We are back in a moment. Bill Brady on the Pulse of Arizona, 1100 KFNX.
Let your voice be heard. It's Talkback Arizona on 1100 KFNX. Call 602-277-5369 in the Phoenix Metro. Statewide, call 866-536-1100.
We are back. Bill Brady on the Pulse of Arizona, 1100 KFNX. Paola Tulliani Zen is with us. She's the Republican candidate for governor coming up in this year's primary election. And we will have Paola back again because there's so much to cover in terms of all of the issues affecting the state, but also in this campaign. We have about 3 minutes left, Paul. But let me just go with an issue that is always in people's mind, especially with inflation, meaning that people's pocketbooks are tighter and they're still going to have to pay taxes. So what do we do about taxes in this state?
Well, I don't believe we need any more taxes imposed on people. And also the inflation. Inflation is not even normal inflation. It's not 7-10%. You know, when you go buy a non-gluten box of crackers, $1.69, one of my assistants said, goes into Walmart and it's $4.29. We're 7-10% there. No. Everybody's getting on the bandwagon, and it's greed. We don't need more taxes. Young family cannot afford it. I think also there's some areas, again, it comes back to numbers. We need to look at where the money's going. And you know what? If we can eliminate some of the taxes, reduce them, you never see anything go down. But what if we could? Right?
How about reducing the size of government?
Okay, there's a good place. You know what I believe? I'm going to cut the fat off our government. And I'm Italian. Just like I cut the fat off my prosciutto. Okay? That's prosciutto. We're cutting it off. That's where the audits come in. We analyze everything and we see where our money's going before we even discuss taxes. And I say, if there's any miracle that we can reduce taxes, we are going to do it.
Got 1 minute. I want to give you a chance to say some closing remarks that you want to leave the voters with today.
Well, I've been a businesswoman most of my life, and I have succeeded at everything that I've done. And it wasn't about the money. It's about the win. It's about doing my best. And I know I'm for Arizona, and Arizona needs me today. I am a businesswoman, and I mean business. Thank you, Jim.
Very well. Thank you, Paola.
Thank you, Bill.
And thank you for being here today. We will see you again sometime soon. It's a long campaign until August, and at the same time, a good amount of time to be able to let the voters get to know you.
The race has just begun. All right?
Yeah, absolutely. Let the voters get a chance to get to know you and the other candidates, and let's make a great selection in 2022 for the Republican nomination for governor in the state of Arizona.